Same thing for the second half of the second map, and then all of a sudden he just turns it around and he finds the comeback and makes it happen in the end. So Dooi clearly has got that resistance and the mental fortitude to roll with the punches.
Now looking at these vetoes, matchup-wise, you would actually, when you look at the first map, you'd probably be used to, in Dooi's sense, that pick being swapped round, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I can't remember if I've seen Dooi play the Anarchy. Interesting pick from him.
I'm a little bit reserved purely because there's a BJ ban and a BJ pick, so I'm gonna take this with a little bit of a pinch of salt, and I guess Anarchy picked and banned as well, so I'm gonna reserve what I think about these picks, and I'm sure we'll see the real ones come through when the matches start. But all the way through, I mean, Blood Covenant as the opening map, it's where those playstyles can really come into being. Dooi has been notorious, it's been a long time since, but he's been notoriously defensive on Blood Covenant in the past. Remind everyone the Nyx play where it was a 1-0, and one of the, I think, less mobile matches we've ever seen in competitive Quake Champions, but that was a long time ago now.
Yeah, and also I'm looking at the in-game lobby right now, and it will be Dooi playing Ranger versus Psygib on the Nyx for map 1. So slightly different from what we saw, but still not Dooi playing his Nyx.
It looks like we are ready to get underway with that. As you said, Flea, obviously, Psygib actually having that Nyx out. It is an interesting conundrum for how this could affect the outcome of the game then. That is the way it's going to go down. Blood Covenant to kick us off, a best of 3. Of course, this is lower bracket business. So you either come in hard and fast, or you will be leaving the tournament. Flea, Ryan, take it away, lads.
There's a lot riding on this as we are going later down into the bracket. And I mean, goddamn, Flea, we've gone through so many games already, but this one looks to be just as competitive. A lot is riding on it being lower bracket action, the last tournament lifeline. But Dooi, if he can conquer Psygib here, this is a impressive result for him personally. I know Dooi's been going through the hard grind, and Psygib forever has a lot to prove. Let's see how this one goes.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, it wouldn't really be much of a surprise in the grand scheme of things, because this has already been a tournament with quite a few upsets so far, right? Razy dropping out pretty much the first day of his appearance is showing in the actual tournament, and he's out already. Same goes for Cooler, losing towards Toxic. I think those were two players that a lot of people were expected to be guaranteed to make it to the top 3 for tomorrow, but yet both of them already out of the game, so there's no reason why Dooi couldn't do the exact same.
I'm interested by the first kind of opening minutes, really, to kind of see that kind of like feel each other out phase. Because Dooi, he's historically known as being a player that is kind of calm and collected and really kind of forces that slow pace. Like, whether it wants to be slow or not, Dooi will force that. However, as we're starting to progress, there are more maps where Dooi kind of actually starts the map being quite aggressive.
Yeah.
And I remember, I'd never forget some comments I saw in stream chat yesterday, which is like, I think at this point Dooi is just trying to trick people into believing that he's defensive, because there's a bunch of maps now where he's just going in. He's going ham at the start to get the lead, and then he slows it down later. So how this first map's going to go, I'm intrigued to see. Looks like we're loading into the lobby soon. Sorry about the quick break up there, guys. We should be ready and good to go. While we're loading into this map, a good opportunity to remind everyone that if you want to share out the action, feel free to share the stream out, share it on social media, use the hashtag QuakeProLeague so we can keep up to date with it and stay involved. There is a secondary stream going on as we speak for the lower bracket action, or some of the other lower bracket matches, I guess I should say. Now we're going into that here at twitch.tv/Quake2. Looks like the lobby's been remade, so we should be in nice and soon. But again, to remind everyone, first map is going to be Blood Covenant, Nyx versus Ranger.
Yeah, and talking about that second stream, we've currently got Chain going up against Dramis. It has made it all the way to the third and final map, the tiebreaker. It is 1-1 currently speaking in terms of maps, with 2 minutes left on the clock, and Chain actually has a 2-frag lead. So Dramis playing the Sorlag on Awoken is trying to chase down Chain, who's playing a much more defensive game using Galena, and he's got quite a few totems set up around the map to help him out with that additional stack. But that, of course, is for the B stream. Don't forget to keep an eye on that, twitch.tv/Quake2 for some more Quake action. But in the meantime, it looks like we are about ready to jump back into our main game on the primary stream, which is, of course, Psygib taking on Dooi.
All right, we're loading in. Thanks for sticking around with us so far. And thanks for your patience. We should be loading in now. But if I were to give you an on-the-spot prediction, Flea, do you assume Psygib has the edge here?
I would overall say yes. I think that if it comes down to it, Dooi, he's made some really nice plays. He's shown that he's an extremely capable player, but Psygib, as I mentioned earlier, he definitely seems to be the one that has the more consistent plays going on overall. We see it throughout the leaderboard. We saw it in previous big tournaments as well. Psygib also probably has a bit more experience dealing with the pressure that comes from playing in these big deciding finals, so I do want to give the lead, or at least a slight edge, to him.
It feels to me like there's more pressure on Dooi here than there is Psygib. Psygib being the player that is expected to win this, simple matter of just doing what he does best, which is just go toe-to-toe when the fights begin, and try not to really fall into Dewey's trap of frustration. Thank you all very much for being patient. We are now loading into our first map of Dooi versus Psygib. Let's get this show on the road.
Starting things off on Psygib's point of view, playing as the Nyx, of course, which is quite a surprise. Definitely a champion that Dooi is very well acquainted with. Nice split on the items off the get-go.
It looks like so far, Psygib's had a couple of angles available to him, but there's not been masses of damage in return just yet. But there's safety there. Dewey's been able to strong-arm himself towards some of these items, and he's trying to establish his presence towards the Mega as well, but with this rocket spam, a little bit too much of a risk. The rails are being traded, but no damage so far, Flea. The rails haven't quite hit their mark yet.
Now it seems indeed as if they have not. No damage being exchanged just yet. That is a beautiful rocket, though. He's gonna send Psygib flying back and reeling after 100 coming up the bounce pad. Heavy will be up first. Looks like Dooi, though, is just gonna go full aggressive, doesn't even care about the item, just that wants to hurt Psygib just a tad more before backing up. Of course, he's well aware that he's got the item to his back, and so he can dip right back out and collect the extra resources when need be, but still, he's still sticking around. He's been there for around 20 seconds, finally makes his way over towards the Heavy. Taking quite a lot of time, though. I think Dooi is just very set on keeping that split for the time being.
Psygib is extremely, I think, in that situation when you're one rail away from going down, but actually he catches Dooi sleeping a little bit. It is a tricky angle with a lot of different escape routes, but the fact that Psygib was able to kind of mount that back from itself when he was on 57 HP and one rail away from death, has been able to hit the return rail though, so Dooi running away with his tail between his legs at the moment. How long can he keep this going? Psygib is hitting some rails. He knows this could be an opportunity to get stuck. Dooi, I think, getting stuck on the pillar. And right before death, blowing through his Dire Orb. Now, this actually might hurt a lot fresh off the spawn. He's not going to have a lot of weapons. Psygib knows he's at least going to have an SSG in hand, so there's no chance of chasing it down there. The important thing now is to keep Dooi behind and try and take some of these items. There is some opening damage. The rocket combo into the rail. That's a fantastic start. And they trade the items, Mega for Heavy.
Yeah, Dooi, he's got to keep up the pressure if he wants to catch up with Psygib. Both players starting to slow things down a little bit. Next to no split on the items. Slight little standoff right there, neither firing right off the bat.
Oh, that cheeky wall jump. He did get met with the Dire Orb though, so Dewey's Tri-Bolt says hello, Psygib.
I mean, we kept saying, right, the Dooi orbs, they might not be as lethal as they used to be just because of how the meta and the balance has changed, but still, the man is a master with the Ranger orb, and he's showing it time and time again. Just getting up close and doing that amount of damage to a champion as squishy as Nyx, even if she does have some stack to work with, that is going to absolutely cripple her, and Dooi takes advantage of that opportunity real quick.
It's been a rather explosive 3.5 minutes between Dooi and Psygib. Psygib has been, I think, handling the matchup quite well. There's just the always threat that exists when you play one of those lighter champions and you play against a player that is as orb happy as Dooi. He's one of those picks that you see some Ranger players and they'll use the orb exclusively for movement. Dooi is not one of those players. If you're a light stack versus him, there's always that situation where if your stack isn't quite there, Dooi can really capitalize on it. But it's going to remain one apiece so far. Mega's about to spawn. Dooi is in a far better position for that, and Psygib's not going to want to try and fight for it. As we can see, he's underneath. It looks like Dooi doesn't have a hold over where he is, but that jump pad forces a reaction, misses the reactionary rail. But it looks like Psygib doesn't get a massive amount of damage. Dooi takes an unreturned rail. That's always a bad look. But thankfully, there are some lights to go through. Dire Orb's in play, so Dewey's going to be less shy to sit here and fight for the heavy. And the aggressive Dire Orb. Is it going to work? Oh, rocket apiece! Man, Flea, these guys are evenly matched right now.
This is a far more aggressive game than I think many people were expecting. We're seeing Dooi play on Blood Covenant. We've seen maps going to overtime with as little as one frag on either player's side, and yet both players continuing to do a whole lot of damage, constantly trying to prod away at the other. I think it's mainly Psygib driving that, though. He is primarily the aggressor in these situations, but now he's got to be a bit careful. Ghostwalk is going to come back up, but he's still at a stack disadvantage. He wants to hit something here, unable to do so, and that is going to give Dooi quite a bit of leeway with a major stack to work with.
Some delicious heavy machine gun coming through Dooi. Looks like Psygib. But the sounds of that teleport or re-emerge, it sounded a little bit like Psygib was going for a perforation. The fact that he's able to survive this long was quite good, but yeah, this is rock in a hard place. Even with that double jump, no way. He was far too weak. And with that Ghost Walk being used, Dooi really forced him into a tricky position. Can Dooi catch the rocket rhythm and get in and out? Safe heavy pickup, nothing Psygib can do. Alarm bells for Psygib now, there's no armor in play. He is going to be on the Mega, but if Dooi can catch him now, there's no armor to work with, but Dooi takes a ton of opening damage. The LG certainly doesn't tickle either.
Nice.
90 damage on that rail. Psygib, tender. Oh, good play from Dooi. He knows he's going to come back, and he follows through, but still quite a risk jumping down there. The Tribolt's going to make it potentially less risky, but what that Tribolt's going to do is make it almost impossible for Psygib to fight for this heavy. Maybe he can look for a rail angle here, but even then, yeah, he wants nothing to do with it. Mega up next.
Dewey's reads have been phenomenal so far. Constantly guessing more or less where Psygib is going to go and keeping a very good read on him to keep that stack low. But right here he did slip up a bit though, allowed his opponent to sneak on through and steal away the Mega. Still, I can see Dewey starting to slow things down already. 3 minutes left to go. He's not even going to contest for heavy. He's just going to give it to Psygib, maybe try and do a bit of damage, and that's just about what I would have expected from Dooi. Doesn't want to put himself in the dangerous, risky situation on the item, but is more than happy to just land a few of these shots, and my god, what kind of shots they are! Psygib, 1 point of help, massive amount of overkill for Dooi, but it'll get the job done nevertheless.
Dooi has definitely seemed a little bit irritating here for Psygib. Even a couple of minutes ago, that fake rocket jump towards rocket launcher into the immediate pool. Trying to get that free rail angle. That did work out, you know. Dewey's going for some funky little plays here. But it's been working out. The thing is, we've been talking about Dewey's playstyle and how he can slow things down. Now we're 2.5 minutes away from this map being over. And it's a 2-frag lead on Blood Covenant. An orb in hand. If Psygib chases this one down, and especially if he uses the aggressive Ghost Walk, this is one thing that Psygib has to worry about. Is he's not shy of those aggressive Ghost Walk plays, but the reality is, if he uses the Ghost Walk to go in, he's extremely vulnerable. Oh, almost got hit by the rail. That would have been a horrible position for Dooi. But what I was going to try and say is, using the aggressive Ghost Walk leaves you vulnerable to orbs.
Absolutely, yeah, and we've constantly seen people use the Ghost Walk to counter the orb. When it comes flying at your face, just toggle in and out of the battle for at least a few seconds. Nice play from Dooi, switching onto the rocket to make sure that his weapon isn't emitting any noise whatsoever, because Railgun and Lightning Gun, they give a bit of a buzz or a hum noise, so he was just waiting things out, being extra sneaky, and then switching back to land a nice shot on Psygib's behind as he was leaving the room. With 1 minute and 30 seconds left, I think, even though you said that it is risky to go for the aggressive Ghost Walk, Psygib has got to come up with something new.
I mean, he can't just go for that full frontal attack at this stage. The Ghost Walk has been used, doesn't even need it. Psygib, I mean, to be fair, in that condition, perforation was kind of all he could do, because the time it would have taken to disengage and get his stack back up is time he simply does not have anymore. If he went for the perforation, or if he got it, I guess I should say, there'd be 1 frag left, but really, everything's coming up Dooi. 3 frags for Psygib to take. His Ghost Walk isn't up for at least 20 seconds. That might change if he can get some hourglasses, but the reality is this is by all accounts Dooi's map. He has to royally screw up here to lose. And it just looks like he's been unfazed by Psygib. He's been consistently surprising Psygib. He's been getting some unchallenged rails. He's been a sneaky lad. And now, the longer it takes for Psygib to just completely fail to find Dooi, this by all means should be a map over. 3 frags, and this time he's just listening out. Can hear the aggression. Doesn't matter that the rail's missed because he's now going to go in and out. Mega's in play, he can hear the jump pad because Psygib, he can't be careful anymore. He has to try and make something happen. The Mega being taken. Ghost Walk goes for another last-ditch teleport again, gets the frag, but it's too little too late. 10 seconds for 2 frags, not a chance.
I also want to give a shout out to Dooi's rocket jumps in this map. It's not something we really touched upon, but he used them frequently and to great effect because, of course, playing Ranger means you take less self-damage from your own rockets. So Dooi consistently put himself in these nice positions where he was able to exit the fight very quickly just by rocket jumping up to another level. We saw it once again at the very end there, even though it wasn't really necessary anymore. But Dooi waiting at the bottom towards Heavy, the moment he hears the noise come from the same level as him, he just rocket jumps right on out. And there's very little that his opponent can do to catch him. So very evasive play, more or less what we were used to seeing from Dooi, and beautiful win on his behalf.
Checking out the endgame stats, it's very clear that there was kind of an unagreed to officially split on the map. It was the Megas really went in the hand of Dooi and the Heavy was Psygib's. Both players kind of content that when the time was there to just, re-establish and slow things down, both players took comfort on those sides. Dooi, I really loved those kind of micro decisions he was making during combat. Psygib, the Ghost Walk, didn't get the largest amount of mileage out of it. A lot of the time the Ghost Walk was used, it was kind of in a dire situation where Psygib was forced to make a hard choice. The one time he went for the aggressive Ghost Walk was when Dooi kind of just so happened to have the orb ready to go. But ready, I think that's one of the golden words, that Dooi was always ready for Psygib throughout the entire map.
Yeah, I also love the exchange in the players' chat, asking if Psygib's ready, and he says, born ready. The man still has the confidence moving into the next map.
That's not his thing, though, is it?
That is what he needs.
I'm sure Psygib didn't invent that.
No, I think there's been plenty of other people who've said the same thing, but the man still has some spirit left, right? He's not gonna let this get to him. He's a veteran player. He knows that he put in a good effort, but that Blood Covenant, it's kind of Dooi's playground, especially when he's got a mobile champion or one with the orb to work with. So Corrupted Keep is a much closer map, so much more up close and personal. And if you are coming to Brawl, well, this is all that different from Blood Covenant.
That was one map, though, the way Dooi... We're not used to seeing Dooi take it in that fashion, are we? We mentioned there's going to be a clash of styles between these two players. Dooi was a lot more kind of proactive throughout the course of that map, and very combat heavy. Now as we low into the Corrupted Keep, no rail to be had. The rail did look immaculately strong for Dooi in that previous one, so... We'll find out how that one's going to go, but certainly a matchup that you don't see every day. Dooi bringing out the Scale Bearer, and Psygib with the Strogan Pika. Is Dooi going to take a 2-0 here, Flea, or are we going into a final map? What do you reckon?
I mean, I think we're gonna have to wait and see for the first few minutes of this series how Dooi looks on that Scale Bearer of his. Scale can be such an effective pick on a map like this, but on the other hand, if you can't get the movement just down, then you are a huge and easy target for your opponent. Luckily for him, there's no railgun, so that might help in his favor at least a bit. But on the other hand, railgun is also the typical way of countering the peeker, and Psygib is no stranger to that tool in his arsenal. Mega will have spawned, Psygib taking away Dooi. Can he trap him? Nice little pin on the LG. Psygib getting close to death right there.
This is that situation for Psygib. Oh, yep. The second he catches a whiff of Dooi, it's that's my cue to exit. Dooi going all aggression with that super shotgun. That first frag perfectly. Oh, I was about to say perfectly timed, but he was maybe a second short on that Mega. But thankfully to those health bubbles and some really good LG damage. It's not the most punishing thing in the world. It has given Psygib the full rotation though. But the nature of these large champions and the damage they can output, There's no rail on this map, and it's very LG heavy. The LG versus a bull rush, it kind of tickles a little bit.
Oh yeah. You just mitigate so much damage when you're using that ability that even if you've got 100% accuracy,
Oh dear!
kind of messing up the ability right there. Out comes the peeker, and Psygib somehow still takes that one away, even though it was Dooi picking up the Mega. And that was solely due to the fact that, of course, Scale is such a large target. You're so much more likely to land all of those shotgun pellets at close range than you are when firing at a Strock.
And there was quite an awkward little situation for Dooi where the bull rush was used. You know he had the close range, but just getting knocked up, and then he had the stairs to deal with. It just had to try and back out. The problem with during that entire phase, he's taking damage and not really dishing out anything in return. So, a bit unfortunate there for Dooi. What's even worse for him, though, is the fact that he has no armor. Speaking of armor, Psygib's going to soak up that heavy, unchallenged. The bull rush, I mean it. Now, if this was miniature golf, perhaps Psygib got knocked pretty far out there, hole in one, but Dooi's still the one that takes the bulk of the damage and gets fragged all the same. He's going to go really aggressive, but he's only got a rocket launcher in hand. Here comes the peeker. Dooi forced to retreat. Oh, that rocket was excellent.
High aggression, Psygib managing to get away with 20 points of health, Dooi not looking all that much better himself, but the map, or rather the item rotation, is favoring Psygib in that situation as he gets both of the majors, whereas Dooi is still left with that 25 health stack. Luckily for him, there's a few bubbles to take, getting himself slightly more stacked up, but it's still Psygib with the superior stack right now, and Dooi is in no position to challenge just yet.
Danger is the lack of movement for Dooi. That's the one thing I'm concerned about, is that consistently off the spawn, Psygib, he's gliding around all over the place, he's putting himself in these great positions, and Dooi just doesn't have the tools to keep up. One of the problems is that when these close range fights happen and the crouch slides as prominent as it is, Psygib is just able to make sure that Dooi can't pincer him in. The Tribolt's done a fair bulk of work, but speaking of which, I think I just blinked and Psygib's now on 3 HP. What the hell happened?
Yeah, Dooi just doing an extreme amount of damage. Also, Psygib messing up the peeker. Oh, that was so close. 3 points of health. Dooi unable to capitalize off it. Finally, the bull rush comes out with great success as well, as Dooi ties things right back up. He's gotta be careful though. Heavy machine gun hurts. Gonna go back out. Smart decision. Heavy up in 15 seconds. Mega a bit before that, but it looks like Dooi wants absolutely nothing to do with the items, looking to get himself at least a bit more base armor before he's going to fully engage. Bit of long distance damage, peppering his bonus stack is gonna help.
Heavy has been collected by Psygib though. Unless Dooi gets some miracle shots, it's likely that he's going to drop down. This is a terrifying position, and there's no damage mitigation on the bull rush to save his skin. The heavy machine gun's going to take out the peeker, but that's only one half of the fight. There's now the second half. A Psygib with a fat stack and probably a little bit pissed off. He's going to move forward. Dooi, I mean, right now it looks a little bit like he's delaying the inevitable. And the paths he has to retreat to, they become quite predictable. You know, there's really nowhere else he can go to heal up. He knows the bull rush has to be used, but he knocks Psygib into the heavy. And he's going to do the work for him. No chance of survival.
That's so unfortunate, knocking him right into the item. Lots of damage being exchanged right here, but it is Dooi who doesn't have the heavy machine gun, and he will drop down dead just like that. Instantly aggressive again, though. I don't know about this one, Dooi. Out comes the peeker as well, and he will drop yet another frag. I feel like Dooi is being a bit too aggressive in these situations, although that worked out wonderfully, bumping into his opponent, and of course with Skillbearer's passive doing a bit of damage there before switching to the shotgun. I also love the patience on Dooi's play right there. He will go down, but he just waited firing the shotgun up until he was so close to get the maximum amount of damage out of that.
The shotgun fight was great, and the bull rush looks good too. If Dooi gets that SSG spawn and he's got a bull rush, it's got to be intimidating. The heavy's about to spawn though. This would be a bad time for Dooi to concede a frag, so he's going to move towards and try and shut off heavy at the very least. Now is going to be a good time to try and rebalance. 6 minutes on the clock. Dooi is behind, but he's got the stack to work with. Doesn't get enough SSG damage to shut down the peeker either. So that's going to be some bonus damage from Psygib. Not going to overstay his welcome and get that third hourglass. A little bit too tempting to run in and take the amount of heavy machine gun damage he definitely would have taken from that exchange. But there's the bull rush again. Heavy's going to spawn soon. The light health bubbles are in play, so he's going to be able to get himself back up to that 100, but what's the play going to be? Armor first, Bull Rush second. He's able to reach Heavy first, and there's really not much he can do. Psygib, I'm nervous about that hallway.
Yeah.
Psygib is out of there. He does not want to get Bull Rushed in a hallway.
If the Bull Rush comes at you there, then you are in big trouble. And I think that's also one of the reasons why Psygib is playing a relatively passive and avoiding game right now, because he knows that even when he is in control, a single bad Bull Rush can change things completely, just knocking you up against the wall in a corner, and then a rocket will it's only what you need to finish him off in such a situation. Dooi, I love that he just dips in, lands the shoddy, and decides, nope, I don't have the stack for this, don't have the weapons, I'm just gonna get right back out once again.
Bull Rush! He jumps over! Oh, the Jukes! That was so close to being Psygib turned to paste, but the last minute clutch jump. He is going to get a free frag anyway, but we're really eyeing up the fact that there's not a lot of this map left. So anything Psygib can do to slow things down is going to help him out massively. A little bit of entry damage for the nail gun, but only 20 damage is going to come through there. The use of this Bull Rush from Dooi has been fantastic. He's not been too aggressive with it, and he's not been too eager to dip into the well of Bull Rush every single fight. He really waits for the right time. Because that Bull Rush, I mean, it can be so good for securing these frags, but if you use it at a bad time, you're taking a bunch of damage, you're then going to be out of position, and you've got no health. So Dooi knows there's a big risk coming through. Let's make sure he's on it. Goes back down. Bull Rush, is it going to get him out? No, he's going to save it. He never uses the Bull Rush to survive or escape, you'll notice. It's always for fights.
About to point out the exact same thing, and now Psygib's got a monster stack to work with. He's got both of the major items. Dooi is the one who needs to make 2 more frags happen in less than 2 minutes. Mega will be the next item to spawn, and it looks like Psygib once again in the better position to take this one. The LG is so strong. Dooi is in trouble. Can he even get out of the room alive? Yes, because Psygib landed basically 0 damage in that exchange.
Oh, Pika!
Oh,
finally gets its time to shine. That's quite an unfortunate situation for Dooi though, because now he's fresh off the spawn. He hasn't got a lot of weapons to work with. It's enough to get some damage, but until he gets access to everything, it's going to be tricky for him. The Bull Rush was activated, so now he's not going to have that either. 25 seconds and 3 frags. Psygib doesn't want to overstay his welcome towards the Mega. He's out of there. He can play the runaway defensive game now. 1 minute, for 3 frags versus one of the champions that will struggle to chase if he hasn't got Bull Rush. It's a good situation for Psygib, absolutely.
yeah, with 45 seconds left. I mean, it is Corrupted Keep. It's a map where you can daisy chain a lot of frags together quickly. But Dooi, he's even outstacked, he's outmaneuvered. This is going to be so difficult. Even takes a bit of a short plummet into the lava right there. Mega will be his, but if this goes wrong, and indeed it does, I think we are safe to call it GG right there. Psygib, beautiful positioning right there, reading his opponent perfectly and estimating that Dooi would just jump over the statue at LG. That's exactly what he did, and that makes for such an easy pin. Dooi sticking around, trying to make magic happen with the super shotgun, but not today, not this time. Dooi is going to call the GG.
One of the amazing things that Psygib was able to do was avoid actually being within a threat of that kind of trump card of burst that a successful Bull Rush brings to the table. And also, just keeping Dooi kind of at arm's reach. I loved his defensive Pika around corners. Knows that Dooi, he has to go for a hard dedicate if he wants to pop a Bull Rush around a corner or something, and the Pika just comes, all that free damage that followed up. And also just making sure he wasn't in a position to get tagged at close range. In a lot of these fights, Psygib's kind of just at the right magic range where he's able to get in and out while at the same time getting a ton of damage. And in these really funky exchanges, somehow Psygib's able to survive with barely any stack. Overall, this was a really fun showing, but it is going to be a 1-1 Flea.
Yep, once again, all tied up. Dooi taking away the first map, but Psygib managing to make a comeback happen on the second. And as you said, I felt like Psygib's spacing on the second map was particularly impressive. He shut down so many of Dooi's advances in these difficult situations by utilizing the Peeker perfectly and by keeping a significant amount of control. And what that does when you're playing a large, heavy champion means that, well, okay, he's got a big hitbox, but he doesn't have the stack to really back it up. When you consistently deal out damage and you deny the major items, then Dooi's scale becomes more of a huge target than this brute power force that can overpower you at any time.
That was the moment his heart broke in half, I think.
Oh yeah.
When we were so close to a wonderful bull rush, and then just that perfect Super Mario Brothers jump clean over.
It was so risky though too, because jumping in such a situation as a bull rush is about to clip you, that would have sent him flying off the map, even if it hadn't killed him, because the extra air momentum, the verticality to get out of jumping would have sent him flying to his death. So that was so close that he managed to dodge that one. Beautiful play for a replay though.
Well, a good thing for Psygib, he was born ready. You see a bull rush, I'm gonna jump over it all day, every day. However, that is one extreme side of a map, and now we're gonna go from one extreme to another. The decider map, Ruins of Sarnath. Doi's gonna be rocking the Sorlag, Psygib rocking the Visor, and I mean, it's just an entirely different change of pace, isn't it? Dooi had some great mileage out of his rails earlier today, and on that kind of wider spread map, he seemed to have a little bit of an edge. The champions, though, we're going to get way more information for Psygib thanks to the Visor. Dooi, he loves a good brawl, right? He loves a brawl, and I think the champion lineup for him is going to help that too. So we're going into another final map that's pretty hard to call, all things considered. And I'm glad that the players are making it as close as it is, really pushing each other to these limits at the Stage 3 finals for Quake Pro League.
I mean, that's something that we've been discussing a lot with Dooi. We've seen him do it time and time again. He goes hyper aggressive in the first few minutes, gets himself 2 or 3 frags in the lead, and then he switches to his more classic defensive and reactive game. And the champion that he's picked, Sorlag, of course, gives him so much freedom of movement, so much speed, and so much stack to just overwhelm Psygib in these first few minutes. So I think that we could see some attempts of doing exactly that of Dooi.
But speaking of Dooi, we're checking him out first, who gets some LG damage. That misrail does make him a little bit vulnerable to damage, so we're going to get out of there. I'm going to give a special shout out to Dooi. He doesn't rock the bright green player skins anymore, but I love the fact that he's still rocking the bright green weapons. That's a throwback of 2 years ago, if I've ever seen it. But this time, a little bit more tactical. He's going to soak up that first frag on Psygib. And, a clean little rail. He is going to have to concede that heavy all the same, but hitting rails like that, he'll be in a good place.
I mean, you gotta love it when the champions, or the players rather, deck out and customize their own guns and skins a bit to add a little bit of personality. There's some, I believe it was Kron, who just absolutely went for the ugliest combinations he could find and the most disruptive colors possible. So it's always fun to see. Meanwhile, though, it's a 1-0 for Dooi, just as predicted. An aggressive start from the Texan, and then now maybe slow playing it a bit. Good rocket though, and a rail to boot as well. Missing the kill shot though. Psygib is going to be able to collect the Mega, but after that amount of abuse, he's looking barely above his normal starting stack.
That one missed rail, more punishing than some might expect. Missing that shot meant that, if he got that frag, it would have been a frag plus a free Mega plus spawn presence plus a really nice break in between these 2 items to be able to take. And Dooi coming out with the aggression once again, looking for the rail. Can he find the shot? Sees an elbow exposed. But hang on a minute. He's looking to trap Psygib even more. Now where's he going to go? The Mega's up. There is going to be that element. Dooi has time to double up and take the heavy. Does Psygib collect the Mega? That is the question. He finally soaks it up. And there's not much of a delay here in between, but you can see Dooi. Again, the map has started. He is being aggressive as anything. The danger is he's taken 2 rails. So he's putting a lot of faith in his own rail accuracy this early on. It's a huge part of his aggression. When he misses a shot, he's so vulnerable. Psygib, happy to punish it.
And of course, Sorlag, she is a bit of a thick girl, so if you go for these exchanges and you miss your rails, very likely that you're going to take some damage in return. And that's what Psygib's been doing, so Dooi kinda has to take things step back for a moment. Aggressive push from Psygib, but a good trap from Dooi. That was a bit too much for Psygib, just rushing down the hallway, and Dooi reading it perfectly, using the spit, the acid damage in combination with a rocket to get himself a beautiful midi as well. Dooi 3-0 up. Psygib, is he going to go in again to go for yet another refrag?
It's going to be quite risky to go for it. Missed rail. Look at the timing of the Mega that if Dooi was there for half a second longer, there would have at least been a Mega stolen away. So it's a bit of a saving grace for Psygib. The huge amount of burst, looks for the rail, doesn't hit the shot, and Psygib is going to get the punish. Man, with fact he had 93 HP. If that rail connected, he would have been at death's door, and a refrag from this angle would have been more than likely. And he's out of there. Dooi knows that one fight went wrong, but we can still win the war. 2 frags in the lead. Early days yet, though. The deciding map. So much pressure this late on in the bracket. This being lower bracket too, I mean, this is elimination territory. Neither player wants to be out of this tournament.
I like that Dooi is using the acid spit a whole lot, because every single time he does so, he's able to pick up more of these hourglasses and just deny them to Psygib, because even if he doesn't do that much damage with it, it's so crucial that you keep pushing down and mitigating the constant piercing sight that your opponent might have up if you allow him to just consume every single one of the hourglasses on the map. Oh no, Dooi jumps right on by the mega health, I think, aided by a bit of a push, a nudge in the bottom from Psygib's LG. And that is going to close things up even more. 3 frags to 2 right now, Psygib mounting a comeback for sure.
Piercing sight. This time it's all about that all-important information. And the only information he's going to get so far is that we're about to have a split between Mega and Heavy. However, nice placement from Dooi. Really nice placement, in fact. Safe to assume Heavy's been taken. He gets a good read on where he's going to jump up towards it and try and take it. Psygib going for a refrag, and the rockets just did not hit their mark. Dewey's going to fall down again. And even that little bit of acid, I think, it's not about the damage there for Dooi, it's the information. He now has a rough idea of where Psygib was at the time. Not going to help him versus that rail, though, which he still gets caught on the noggin. Not sure where to look, but there's that 5-minute warning. Dooi in the lead, but barely. And with this Mega about to spawn and Psygib in the best place for it, yeah, he's looking to do what Dooi did to him about a minute ago. Not this time.
Still Dooi with that 1 frag in the lead. Psygib, I think that was almost by complete accident that he caught sight of his opponent right there. Unable to do any damage. But Psygib's got a really good rotation going right now. 10 seconds between the items, Heavy first and then Mega right after. But Dooi, playing as the Lizard, of course, has got a huge base stack to work with. So Psygib's definitely got to be careful about that. Out comes the rocket jump just as Dooi switches to the rail. This could be huge for Psygib. Yes, indeed. Dooi. If only he had switched to the likes of LG, that should have been an easy frag for him. But unfortunately, he got caught with his pants down, fumbling the different weapons in his arsenal. And it all went Psygib's way.
This is an interesting position, though, because the Heavy's been soaked up by Dooi. Just look at how much armor he is rocking, and that's only a 26 damage rocket. Dewey's not going to care about that. In fact, he cares such little about it that he's still pushing on. He gets a drive-by rail. That's interesting. Doesn't quite hit the second one. I think asking for 2 of those would have been quite a big one indeed, but Psygib without armor has to be really careful for these rails. Thankfully, one of them's going to miss. He's going to push in. I'm not sure about pushing in like that. Dooi, so much stack left that that's exactly what he wanted.
I also really don't know about the decision to switch to the railgun right there. No clue why he just all of a sudden whipped out the nails and then just tried to deny a bit of location to Dooi and then switched back to LG because Dooi just pushed out from behind that pillar instantly and punished Psygib standing in a bad situation with the wrong weapon out instantly. And now Dooi once again in the lead. 1 frag ahead, 3 minutes to go. He's got a good rotation going. He just needs to keep dealing the damage, and that's exactly what we love to see. Dooi not going full defensive just yet. Psygib miraculously almost managing to dodge the spit right there, but does end up going down to the rail.
I mean, I'm already surprised that not 1 ounce of spit was able to land on Psygib during that confrontation. There was so much of it. The fact that Dooi landed that surgical rail near the end is impressive enough. This is a scary situation, though, because Dewey's got tons of stack, he's got tons of weapons, and that is opening damage even with the ledge grab. Who's going to get the shot? Going in for LG, a free stream! But how tender is Psygib after this? 10 seconds until the next item. It's actually risky for him to try and assert himself. There's going to be 1 light health bubble, but Dooi goes in, guns blazing, just to push Psygib away. This by all means should be a free Mega, but even after this Heavy gets taken, Psygib, he's not particularly healthy here, especially when you compare it to Dewey's stack. Not at all.
Psygib, he has to be careful right now. Dooi is 1 frag in the lead. That's entirely doable in 2 minutes, but if he drops 1 more and you have to chase down an angry Sorlek like that, that might as well just be GG. So Psygib absolutely cannot surrender any more frags. Looks like Dooi is setting up a bit of a trap himself. Psygib, he sees the rocket launcher, lands a nice little rail as Dooi dips back down the stairs. This could give Psygib a few pieces of equipment to work with, as he does manage to secure himself the mega health.
Check
Now
out the
again,
positioning.
Dooi
This
defensive.
is like a light switch Flea, a complete change of style. Dooi now going hyper defensive. Manages to catch a sight of Psygib. Psygib is going to go for these big plays, these quick rearrangements to try and catch Dooi off guard. He only needs one frag to tie this up. This is our deciding map, ladies and gentlemen. There's so much riding on this for these two players. And it is elimination territory. The Mega's going to get taken, as is the Heavy. The even split. Rocket jump to spring the attack, but Psygib, on top of the fact that Dooi did the damage, there was that rocket jump for self-damage. He's going to stop the bleeding using that health bubble. Dooi is not going to put himself into a terrible situation, but the rocket, hang on, can Psygib do it? He can! Land the frag that he's been looking for all this time. And now it's a bit of an even split. Dooi, he spawns with a lot of stack, but he still needs the important weapons. He spawns near rail, which is certainly better than nothing, but just like that, Psygib has an opening, misses the rocket, and he misses the rail. That was so close to being advantage Psygib, but just didn't have the perspective to get that shot.
They both just hugged it out for a moment to catch up. They flew up, they touched in midair, and then they each just went about their day again, knowing, of course, that things are all tied up. It's 6-6. This might as well be overtime already with 10 seconds left on the clock. Psygib, slight stack advantage for the time being, and he's got himself the heavy armor as well, but he's got to be careful making a move onto Mega. It looks like he's just going to give it up to Dooi instead. As we have entered sudden death, meaning that whoever gets the next frag will win this series.
Looking for the rail, and he's bang on the money. That's going to undo the hard work of the Mega and force Dooi downwards. There's definitely enough of a delay in between the two of these. The Heavy is a rather attractive option. Psygib acknowledging that he's in a better position to push his way away from it. Dooi now. The pressure's on. You've got to land those rails. You've got to get that stack down. That's one, but that's not going to be enough just yet. The difficult thing, though, is that you hit one rail, the Mega gets taken, that divide in between stacks just becomes oh so larger. But if Dooi's able to clench this out, this will be one of the biggest results he's been able to land in Pro League so far. Stage 3 finals, this late in the bracket, taking on Psygib. I mean, he would be incredibly pleased with himself. Psygib has to be able to rise to this occasion, undo this mega stack that Lizard's working on.
1 minute into overtime already. We've seen a hell of a lot really long overtimes. More in this tournament than I feel like we've seen in quite a few lands before this. All players clearly on edge. They know that there's a lot on the line. There's that $50,000 prize pool waiting, still within reach for everyone you're seeing in play right now. Dooi, it's got the stack advantage. It's got a nice rotation setup. Psygib looking to throw a wrench in there somewhere. Dooi, nice little rocket jump up. Takes one rail, two rails. Psygib's gonna keep it up and secure himself the Mega. The hunt is open. Can he let himself some lizard blood?
It's going to be all about managing those hourglasses. I do love Psygib's positioning, actually, because there's so many of them here that the piercing sight becomes a lot more available than you would expect. Armor has been taken, Psygib has timing. He also has knowledge of where Dooi's likely to be. Looking for a rail angle. He knows he's over there, he just can't find the shot. Piercing sight for the added information. Blessed Spear is ready for Dooi, but he's not in a position to make it count just yet. Both players have the weapons they need. It's all about who can score first blood. Rocket versus rail, that's only ever going to be a victory for Dooi, and Psygib has to push his way forward. Hang on a second. Even with this heavy, that's a bit frightening for Dooi.
But Psygib, of course, on the other hand, doesn't have any armor to his name, so he doesn't want to stick around too long either. And both players just playing a very cautious match right now. Of course, on the one hand, you've got Dooi, who has to be constantly on the lookout for that piercing sight being used. Psygib might see him anywhere on the map at any given time. Whereas on the other hand, Psygib, he knows that he's usually outstacked and that there can be an angry Sorla coming around the corner with that acid spit at a moment's notice. So he too has switched to a more defensive, reactive playstyle. Heavy will be going his way this time around. Looks like Dooi is already set up towards Mega. And that's one of the hallmarks of this map.
Oh
It's
dear.
not that easy to get both of the items, so you can easily set up somewhere. Dooi taking a few bad rockets. Psygib taking the spit damage. Hang on, still with the acid onto him.
We saw a chunk of self-damage from Dooi indicating that was 100,000% a rocket jump that he used to try and escape that situation. And it is going to save his skin. The danger now is that Psygib has tons of armor and a really impressive amount of health. That piercing sight's just about to respawn right as the Mega spawns. This could be the end of Dooi. He's sticking around towards the Mega, but there's no armor to be had. This is a scary encounter. He's going to jump down. Psygib looking for the rail angle. Incredibly tense. He's waiting for him to come round, and look at how safe Dooi is trying to play this, but that's a free rail all the same! He knows he's looking for it. Psygib, I love this position. He has so many angles covered, and he's able to bully his way towards the heavy for another time. Man, what is it with these overtimes today, Flea? Defensive acid spit.
Oh, that's risky for Psygib. If he takes a bit too much damage, he still has a few bubbles to fall back on, but that was nevertheless painfully close. And as I was saying earlier, this is one of the hallmarks of this map. It's not easy to go up from Mega or from Heavy to Mega, right? And so one player can easily take up a strong defensive position and allow the other player to take one of the items and then just deny the other, more so than on a lot of other smaller maps. And that's exactly what we've been seeing for quite some time now. Both players each contending themselves with one item and neither being able to establish good, consistent control.
That one rocket jump failing to hit its mark means that Psygib has no choice but to concede. A Mega being taken. Dooi's in a position for the heavy. He now knows there's enemies afoot. The danger with Sorlag getting the heavy this late on in the map is that she can brawl. And seeing as it's heavy before Mega, if Dooi can establish himself up here, he actually is opening this up with one rail. Mega should be in Psygib's favor, and it will be, but just like that, Dooi has been able to somewhat reverse the momentum. Both players are going to miss their rails. If that rail hit Psygib and undid all the hard work from that Mega, Dooi has so much stack, so much ammo, and an acid spit. Speaking of rail, he gets one.
I'm expecting Dooi to maybe push his luck, and there he comes, missing a crucial rail though. If Dooi would have hit that shot, I think it could have easily been GG, but unfortunately for him, it will actually be Psygib to land the defensive rail, and yet another one. Mega spawns just in time for Dooi. Rails exchanged left and right, and this time it is once again the Lizard falling low.
Oh no, Dooi, he's stuck.
Bad spot.
The defensive shots though, they hurt, but no, he goes back up the jump pad. What happened there? Surely that was not his own choice to go up there.
Oh no, Dooi.
What happened, Flea?
I don't even know, because he's playing Sorlag, right? He has the air control. Even if he falls down at a bad angle, he should be able to just maneuver himself out of that downward spiral and still dodge the bounce pad, but somehow he landed right on it, flew back up, and Psygib, of course, he heard that noise, turned right back around with the super shotgun, and that was all she wrote. So a nail-bitingly close finish, but it will be Psygib coming out on top with a 2-1 victory.
I'm kind of in shock after that, Flea. I will admit, that was... I almost feel like I blinked and it was over after all that. But what that is going to result is, well, Psygib not only being taken to the absolute brink, but one hell of a victory for him. Congratulations. And that was a hard-fought series, but heartbreaker if you're a Dooi fan right there, with just how that abruptly ended. I'm actually watching the stream feed of it right now just so I can see exactly what happened. He goes down, and it almost seemed like, yeah, the way Psygib dipped, watching it back from his point of view, I'm pretty confident he was not prepared for that. He just reacted to the sound. And
absolutely.
That's all she wrote.
What a sad way to end such an epic series. Feeling sorry for Dooi after all of the hard work he went through to get to that point, but that is the way it goes, unfortunately.
Yeah. I like how we're all being super understanding, and Dan comes in like, what a sad way to end that series. Nah, GG Dooi, but indeed, what an unfortunate finish right there.
It truly is. Sort of a blunder towards the end to take away all of the hallmarks of respect he was building throughout that one. He fought close, but in the end, it's Psygib that transitions on and will keep moving here in the lower bracket. That is Dooi out of commission now.
It is, and Psygib moves on, keeps that run going. Definitely, as we said before, has the potential to take it further into the tournament. definitely deserved. He grounded that one out, had to come back numerous times, so full respect to Psygib for showing that resilience.
1000%. He earned this through and through. I just, because we're a little bit ahead of stream chat, I get the wonderful opportunity to find out Jack's reaction to that unfortunate ending as well. I think we all had our eyes glued to it. But I mean, yeah, we really don't want to take away from Psygib in any way, though. I think this was an impressive result. I thoroughly did not expect Dooi to bring him to this much of a brink, but Psygib rising to the occasion. We mentioned time and time again that in this competitive setting, Psygib is becoming rather seasoned in these clutch encounters and these crazy last-minute moments, and the fact that he came out on top, I mean, he still had to capitalize, you know what I mean? If you actually watch his feed near that final moment, that he was pretty content to disengage, and I think he was the last person that expected the jump pad either. He's just paying attention. He's got his eyes and his ears all stuck around. He hears it, he doubles back and punishes. He capitalized and he punished. Well done.
Yeah, there's one thing to say about Dooi. He is a fighter. It's very rare you'll ever see Dooi go down easily. He always manages to find a way to make it super close, and I don't think it could be any closer than that, as we could see the big lizard falling onto the shotgun for his last breaths.
He even hit the rail though. He tried so hard to capitalize, even though he went back up, he tried so hard to like capitalize on the situation, and he still hit the shot. Like if Psygib was any weaker, that would have been a clutch turnaround, but it's the nature of the rail. If the HP isn't there, or if you can tank the shot, then the punish is there regardless.
Really unfortunate stuff in the end. Here is the series stats though. Overall, 51% rail percentage, 55% LG coming through from Psygib, as he does take the series overall. Ridiculously close. I think closer than the score lines throughout Reflect here as well, if you're just looking at it on paper.
Yep, good amount of LG, 55%, my goodness, exactly what you would expect from a player of Psygib's caliber, right? We've always said the man is a brawler. He likes to get up close and personal and deal tremendous amount of damage with the rockets and the lightning gun. So Psygib, GG's, well played again.